The suppliers for Coca-Cola can't afford to pay the salaries that Coca-Cola does. The people that get their products onto the shelves in Home Depot can't afford to compete with Home Depot on compensation. But if you make it easier for that employer to bring in folk and they can say, hey, listen, maybe I'm not getting as much benefit as I could, but you know what? I like working for this smaller employer. It's closer to my home. I feel like more part of the family, and I'm able to facilitate saving for my retirement. That becomes a winning proposition for that small employer.
Nothing But a Number promises engaging content tailored just for you. Join us as we dive deep into discussions on topics that matter to our communities.
Hello, my name is Alice Bennett, Associate State Director for Advocacy with AARP Georgia. We want to thank you for joining us for this episode of Nothing But a Number. Today, we're going to be talking about work and save legislation that we've been working on for the state of Georgia. And we're going to talk to our expert who's with us today about the stats and why we get to the obstacles of people not being able to save for retirement, some advice on what we can do as a state to make sure that those obstacles are addressed, and any next steps that we might be wanting to consider as we implement this work in the state of Georgia. So I want to thank you all again for joining us, and I'm going to introduce you now to our guest, Mr. Lee Baker. Lee is with Apex Financials, and he has been with us for a very long time. He's a friend, a dear, dear friend, and a family to AARP, and I'm now going to allow him to introduce himself. Lee?
Yeah, thanks, Alice. I appreciate you inviting me for this episode. Always happy to do something for AARP and the people of the state of Georgia. It's interesting that this is called Nothing But a Number, and for me being a numbers guy, it seems appropriate to be here with you. I'm a certified financial planner. You know, I'm in my third decade now, and so every day I work with people all across the state of Georgia and across the country to help them secure their financial future. And so the work that AARP is doing is germane to what I get up and do every day as I work with clients all across the state.
Well, thank you for that. So research shows that we know, excuse me, that 50% of people who are at retirement age don't have enough money saved to live the quality of life that they had. We know that 60% have no retirement savings at all. And when you're talking about small business employees, they don't even have a way to save. So based on the work that you do as a financial planner, tell us about some of the obstacles people face with their retirement and planning for their financial future.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, here in Georgia, we're home to a lot of Fortune 500 companies, right? We've got Delta, we've got Coca-Cola, Home Depot. Those companies have entire staffs dedicated to making sure that their employees save for retirement. AARP, staff dedicated to making sure their employee retirement are safe and secure for their employees. But when you get down to everybody else that helps to feed those companies, right? So you go to the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, you've got limo drivers and all of the ancillary businesses. Those are the small business owners that don't have a staff dedicated to making sure that, hey, we can make it easy for our employees to facilitate supporting their financial future. Because we all know Social Security isn't enough, right?
It's not.
We don't live in a world anymore where most of us have pensions. You know, decades ago, a lot of people still had pensions. That's not the case anymore. And so whatever we can do to make it easier is important. Now, one of the hurdles for employers is simply the fact that, hey, listen, if you say, I'm a small employer, I'm outrunning my business, I'm building widgets, I'm baking pies, whatever it is, that's the thing that you're good at. You're not necessarily good at, and probably are not good at, all of the regulatory aspects of setting up a 401k. How do I know that I'm making the right choice? How do I get the plan? How do I communicate that information to my employees to make sure that they're getting the best out of the plan? And so if we can do something to make it easier, in particular for small employers, to be able to have something for the employees, then I think that'll significantly improve the outlook for Georgians.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And staying on the small business, you know, Georgia touts itself as being the #1 state for the small business when you're thinking about work and save, how does that really benefit? If I were a small business employer and I'm looking to bring somebody in to work for my company, how does this benefit me? What is the benefit? Not just of the saving and setting up the part, but how else does this benefit me?
Yeah, as a small business owner, it helps somebody to level the playing field to some degree, right? So we think about Coca-Cola. The suppliers for Coca-Cola can't compete. They don't have that girth. They can't bring in and offer all the benefits. But if they can bring on people and say, hey, listen, I maybe can't offer you everything that Coca-Cola does, but I do have a way for you to save for your future. I do have a way for you to help take care of yourself and your family in retirement. That helps to level the playing field. The suppliers for Coca-Cola can't afford to pay the salaries that Coca-Cola does. The people that get their products onto the shelves in Home Depot can't afford to compete with Home Depot on compensation. But if you make it easier for that employer to bring in folk and they can say, hey, listen, maybe I'm not getting as much benefit as I could, but you know what? I like working for this smaller employer. It's closer to my home. I feel like more part of the family, and I'm able to facilitate saving for my retirement. That becomes a winning proposition for that small employer.
It does. It makes it more attractive.
Absolutely.
It makes it more competitive.
Absolutely.
You can actually keep them in the door.
And quite frankly, it helps the entire state of Georgia, right? So again, Georgia's a great state. I was born in Georgia. I've lived all my adult life here in Georgia. Georgia's a great state. It's a great state for business. It's a great state for raising a family. But if you want to keep that competitive edge, when you talk about these big billion-dollar companies coming in, that grabs all the headlines. But if you've ever talked to somebody that's been in the automotive business, you've got that manufacturer, but then all of the other smaller businesses that go into making those components of your car, all of that feeds in, and those employers are smaller. And so we want to make sure that we're good not only for those large employers, but that we're a good state. Let me change that. We're a great state for those smaller employers.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So given the background that you have and the work that you do, and of course, if we get this legislation passed here for the state of Georgia, if you were asked to sit on the advisory board to the state and helping to implement this program, what advice would you give to administrators on what would be some of the best things to do to make sure that it's competitive for the small business and that small business employee?
Absolutely. So I'm going to switch up a little bit, and I'm going to tweak your question just a little bit to make it when we get this passed. It's not an if. We're going to get this done. We got to get this done.
Correct.
But if I'm sitting on that advisory board, the biggest thing that I'm going to encourage them to do is say, listen, you've got to make it easy, right? We are humans. And if you put us in a position where we've got to make too many choices about I've got to sign up, I've got to do some additional paperwork, I've got to deal with regulatory testing, those are impediments and roadblocks to the ultimate success that we seek, right? So to the extent that you can put this in place and just eliminate as many of those regulatory roadblocks, reduce the paperwork, quite frankly, think digital first, right? We've got people coming into society, kids graduating from college, they are digital natives, right? And so make things simpler for them, think digital first. And I think that could be a huge benefit to sort of grease the skid pads to making this a success long term.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially when you're talking about the younger generation, because they don't see and think about retirement as much as those of us who have a little bit of gray and a little bit of snow.
Little salt and pepper is okay.
Snow on the top. Right. They don't think about that as much as we do. So.
Absolutely.
But the digital part of it, they definitely get that. And I do like the idea of making it digital first so that they can definitely connect and get connected to what they need to do. So this is one last question.
Absolutely.
And this is just, out of your right side, your left side, any parting words of wisdom to anybody or any community leader looking, if it's a individual who's looking to save, or a community that's looking to do a work and save program, any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
What I'd say is get into the fray, so to speak, and that can be done amicably. Right. This is something that benefits all of us. So there's no need to get upset or say it's my way or the highway. Creating a system where all Georgians are comfortable, if you will, in retirement benefits us all. So reach out. connect with other organizations, other like-minded people. One of the things that I like to say here in our country, in our state, frequently we think about politics the same way we think about Olympics. Every 4 years it comes around and we get all excited and we're waving our flags. This is an every year kind of engagement,
Yes.
right? So reach out to the members of the House, the members of the Senate, local leaders, chambers, business chambers, those sorts of organizations, and really get engaged in this and say, hey, listen, particularly if you're a small business owner, I need this. I need this to be competitive. I want to be a big business. Yes, I'm here in Georgia because Georgia is a great state, but we want to continue to make those improvements.
Yes, we do. And all politics is local. I'm not going to get into the fact that we have a presidential election this
Absolutely.
year, but all politics is local.
Yeah.
So, yes, definitely reach out to
Yeah.
your Senate and your House of Representatives to make sure that they vote for
Absolutely.
whatever legislation leads to work and save program for the state. So this is going to conclude our episode of Nothing But a Number. I am Alice Bennett, Associate State Director with AARP Georgia for Advocacy, and we want to ask you to follow us for more detailed information and to stay connected to this work, and follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Like, follow, and comment to stay connected to us. Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Nothing But a Number. Thank you so much for joining us and diving into the conversations that shape our communities. We hope you found today's discussion enlightening and inspiring. Remember, new episodes drop every Wednesday at 12 noon on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. To stay up to date with all our latest episodes and to continue exploring the topics that matter most to you, be sure to subscribe and follow Nothing But a Number on your preferred podcast platform. Your engagement and support means the world to us. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider sharing it with friends and family who might also find value in our content. Until next time, stay informed, stay connected, and we'll meet you right here next Wednesday. Take care.